For those of you that love talking about animals, from Sci News, Boreonykus certekorum. Paleontologists discover new dinosaur species in Canada. A new species of dromaeosaurid raptor dinosaur, Boreonykus certekorum, that thrived in the cold, has been discovered in a remote part of Canada. This definitely looks like a very distinct species of dromaeosaurid, but I'm guessing they probably scavenged this individual and most likely are not taking on a full grown ceratopsian. And now, from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to Creature Guide Live Prehistoric News. Hit that subscribe button so we can dive right back into the prehistoric news of the day. Paraborionicus certicorum dinosaurs eating a triceratops. That looks nothing like a triceratops. I mean, for those that have okay, when you're looking at different species of ceratopsians, especially the chasmosaurs or members of the chasmosaur lineage of ceratopsians, the centrosaurs all have different types of skull and horn shapes. This individual does not score the three horns that you would see on a triceratops or even close relatives of triceratops, and has a distinct pachyrhinosaurus dome on the front of its snout. So this individual, well, on the bright side, what it indicates is that these dromaeosaurs, I'm guessing, lived much earlier in the Cretaceous. Triceratops only appeared around 68 million years ago. Dr. Phil Bell from the University of New England and Dr. Philip Curry, he's a very famous paleontologist from Canada, from the University of Alberta, announced the discovery of Boreonykus certicorum this week in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology. According to the team, this new dinosaur lived about 72 million years ago. So this makes sense for Pachyrhinosaurus. It's likely that these dromaeosaurs might have been preying on Pachyrhinosaurus hatchlings. Pachyrhinosaurus is one of the most common species of ceratopsian dinosaur to be discovered within Alberta, Canada, as well as different parts of the state of Alaska. Now, Pachyrhinosaurus, different species existed over 76 million years ago during the late Campanian stage of the Cretaceous. They also had to deal with different species of Tyrannosaur at the time, and the further south they were, possibly even coming to contact with different species of crocodilomorphs like the Deinosuchus. And also have coexisted with many different species of hadrosaurs, such as Corythosaurus, Parasaurolophus. Let's take a deeper look. It had killer claws and was a relative of Velociraptor. I'm guessing by the skull structure, it's hard to tell. Usually by what we have found from Canada, this is likely not a member of the Velociraptorni lineage of dromaeosaurs. It seems to have a bit more slightly of a dromaeosaurus sort of skull structure, so a bit more robust. Velociraptor did not have a very robust skull structure. There is evidence, though, for it going after animals just as large as itself, but probably not using its skull for killing the animal, focusing on using its forelimbs as well as its feet for creating a lot of blood loss. So, um, a small carnivorous dinosaur made famous by the Jurassic Park movies. Well, yeah, it's nice that it mentions that, but a velociraptor was only somewhere around 6 feet in length or pushing a little less than 2 meters and weighing up to 30 pounds at most, or a little over 13 kilograms. So let's take a look at another creature from the Mesozoic. So this is a rarely mentioned animal. It's from Argentina and lived in the country around 98 million years ago. And it was also one of the first of its lineage. This is Butiraptor. And Butiraptor was somewhere around 4 feet in length. They're pushing a little more than 1.5 meters. Might have not weighed much more than 8 pounds or pushing a little over 2 kilograms. So this animal, looking at the very thin skull structure, was likely feeding on a wide range of fish. And this seems to be the case with most species of the Unlengiae lineage of theropods, which was very, which it was a distant lineage to the dromaeosaurs or the true raptors, despite these animals sharing very similar characteristics. They did have a sickle claw, and it's likely they might have used these for disemboweling fish that they were preying on in different river systems of Argentina during the Cretaceous. There have been other members of the Unolengiae lineage of Coelurosaurs that have been discovered within South America, indicating that these animals were quite successful within the region despite their extremely almost skinny build, even compared to other species of um, Dromaeosaur or Coelurosaur. These were very lightly built for some reason. But it looks like just based on the skull structure, which is similar to different species of Spinosaur, even different species of um, early relatives of the Carnosaur lineage further back in the early Jurassic or even the late Triassic with the Coelophysids, which were also possibly feeding on different species of fish. However, there is evidence for the coelophysids feeding on different younger individuals, certain crocodilomorphs, even smaller theropod dinosaurs. Actually, there's evidence for coelophysis being a cannibal. So it is possible that animals like the Unolengiates, such as Bucelloraptor, might have been feeding on small crocodilomorphs or even younger dinosaur hatchlings themselves. So let's head back to the article. So one of the smallest of its lineage. Fossilized remains of the ancient animal were unearthed from the Wapiti Formation near the city of Grand Prairie, central western Alberta. The bones we have shown, wait, the bones we have show it would have had big hand, people, and foot claws, a real killing claw. Um, it's really debated with this animal. Though it's likely if it's a small prey item, then it's going to disembowel the animal with its sickle claw. Those were certainly capable of doing um, quite a bit of damage. The claws would have been used to hunt down prey. Yes, it's very um, okay. That's funny. These would have been pretty savage predators. I'm not saying that this animal would be easy to tame, but I think it would be relatively docile compared to different species of dromaeosaur. It's still like the dromaeosaurs, members of the it's a member of the Coelurosaur family. Wait a second. Did I just confuse the animal? Oh, okay. I mixed it up with that Unolengian and not the dromaeosaur. Yeah. This animal, you're gonna have a problem, and likely it's hunting in a pack, just like wolves or doles. So let's keep going.
So you're saying it wouldn't be docile?
No. Dromaeosaurs, even velociraptors, even despite that animal weighing 20 to 30 pounds or less than, or a little more 10 kilograms, I would steer clear of those animals because they were still hunting ceratopsians that weighed over 300 pounds or over 140 kilograms, such as Protoceratops, which was quite a formidable adversary for its size. Um, let's take a look at the size of this animal. Scientists estimate the creature was about 13 feet or 2 meters long. Okay, 13 feet is 4 meters, and as tall as a dog. Oh, yeah, that's specific. Are we talking about a Russell Terrier or a Great Dane or what's that other one? A Saint Bernard? I think the Great Dane's taller. But 13 feet is in the upper realm for dromaeosaurs. This is approaching Dakotaraptor, Vectoraptor size. I'm guessing it's quite a bit of ways from Utahraptor, but now it makes sense for why it's being shown on top of a Pachyrhinosaurus, though even a subadult's too much of a risk for a pack. Now, maybe if it's by itself, it's weak, somehow it's injured, it has some sort of a disease or it's sick, but a full-grown Pachyrhinosaurus, um, this animal, or scrolling up to the top, Pachyrhinosaurus could reach over 30 feet in length or 9 meters and probably weigh somewhere between 4 to 5 tons with a larger species. So I just maybe a juvenile the Boreonykus are going to be taking on. Now, we are talking about a 13-foot raptor. We don't know the estimate of the weight, but it's certainly possible a large enough pack could possibly take on a lone subadult Pachyrhinosaurus. But a full-grown adult, that just seems too much of a risk. Especially, a healthy bull. Its skin was probably feathered to keep the dinosaur warm in the cold, dark winters in North Canada. Yes, it does look like there is evidence for um, there being quite a bit of snowfall during the late Cretaceous, especially around 75 million years ago back in Alberta. And it's very likely that pretty much all dromaeosaurs would have been feathered. It's a bit of a guess with the different species of mid-sized tyrannosaurs. There is no evidence for the different species of ceratopsian as well. Well, at this point, especially with the larger species and the duck-billed hadrosaurs to have had feathers.
What about the quill holes?
Oh, okay. Well, Triceratops, yeah, he's a big question. It is certainly possible. That's still being debated. So I'm not going to say yes or no to that. Let's take a look at another creature from the Mesozoic, which is also a species of ceratopsian, despite its pale look. So here we have a Stenopelix, which is a member of the Chuyungasaurid lineage of ceratopsians. However, this animal, despite most of its family being found in China, is from Germany. Which so Europe is not well known for different species of ceratopsian. They're quite rare in the region. This individual existed back in the early Cretaceous period, around 140 million years ago, and its family would also eventually go extinct up at around this point. Um, let's see. Also, when it comes to the Chuyungasaurids, not you, they first evolved somewhere around 160 million years ago during the late Jurassic. So this was around the time when marine reptiles such as Liopleurodon would have existed, different species of ichthyosaurs, and the pliosaurs in general, the pliosaurs being Liopleurodon, would still cling on till the very beginning of the late Cretaceous, around 95 million years ago. But this is just the beginning stages of the ceratopsians. So this animal was somewhere around 4 feet in length, or maybe pushing around 1.5 meters, but weighed maybe 20 pounds or 8 kilograms. It was a tiny ceratopsian. And at this point, the ceratopsians did not have much of a frill. It's barely a ridge at the back of its skull here, and did not have any horns. So they mainly relied on their beak, for which could create a lot of damage. Um, they mainly relied on their beak and probably running away. Some instances, maybe even burrowing for protection. Now, why is it shown
It
here with a pachycephalosaur?
maybe that's why they got so much bigger, they got tired of being slammed into?
Probably, or simply crushed. They were tired of being snacks. So the problem is that the pachycephalosaurs in this instance haven't evolved yet, and this was somewhere between 140 and 148 million years ago. So this is probably supposed to, I don't know, represent the second Jurassic Park, just because it looks like the pachycephalosaur model from the Lost World, and that depiction is a bit out of date. The pachycephalosaurus should have a much flatter dome and also much larger protruding horns along the just surrounding the dome as well. It should not be standing upright like this. It had a very horizontal body structure, much like the ceratopsians, though occasionally the ceratopsians are shown like this just so they can reach higher up into some tall ferns or maybe certain types of flowers. But yeah, the Pachycephalosaurs wouldn't evolve until the late Cretaceous, so somewhere around 80 to 90 million years ago. So let's head back to the article. Let's see. The discovery of Boreonykus certekorum is significant as it fills an important gap in how the raptors moved and adapted to the environment. Its closest ancestors were from Mongolia, so this species probably crossed the land bridge from northern Asia to North America. Well, it's mentioning that the closest relatives of Boreonychus are coming in from Mongolia, and Velociraptor is from Mongolia. So maybe this is just a much more heavily built species. I am truly wondering about that. Dromaeosaurus, or many species of Dromaeosaur in general from North America, tend to be much more robustly built, and their teeth um, and looking at the overall skull structure, do have the ability to come into contact with bone also at a much higher pressure. It's not that Velociraptor wouldn't come into contact with bone, but if it applied much pressure, then there would be serious problems. Definitely a lot of tooth breakage. But luckily, considering it's a dinosaur, it's able to regrow them. But the main problem is if it breaks its skull. So let's take a look at another creature. So, this is a creature, it's also rarely talked about. Being from North America, this is a species of late Cretaceous tyrannosaur, but it lived much earlier than T Rex and even the mid sized tyrannosaurs of the Campanian stage, such as Albertosaurus, Gorgosaurus. This is Appalachiosaurus. It also lived much further south, and it was discovered in sweet home Alabama and probably I think it's adjacent to some wildlife management area. It was somewhere around 21 feet in length. They're pushing a little over 6 meters. It probably weighed up to 1,300 pounds, a little over um 600 kilograms. And this animal was probably feeding on smaller species of ceratopsian at the time, such as Ceratops. And this animal, let's see. When it comes to Ceratops, I'm trying to remember exactly where he was roaming. He was roaming North America close to the same time, somewhere around 75 to 78 million years ago. The Appalachiosaurus existed somewhere around 78 to 80 million years ago during the Cretaceous. Now, this animal was also probably going after different species of hadrosauromorph at the time, which tends to be a much more preferred prey item simply due to the fact that usually they're not as dangerous. They just simply don't have the weaponry. And really, the biggest defense that a hadrosaur has is to, um, outside of running, just smush the predator, which in many cases they would be larger than the tyrannosaurs that were hunting them until T Rex popped up. Now, Ceratops was a smaller species of ceratopsian. It was still related to Triceratops, but reached a length of somewhere around 20 feet, pushing 6 meters, and probably weighed somewhere around 1,500 to 1,800 pounds, or a little over 700 kilograms. It was likely feeding on different species of ginkgo trees at the time, different species of flowers, and maybe even different species of fruit. Fruit actually became quite abundant even during the early Cretaceous period, and this was up as well alongside the first species of flowering plants. There's even evidence for different species of pterosaur during the early Cretaceous feeding on different species of fruit, especially members of the tapejoid lineage of pterosaurs. Um, so let me know what your favorite species of raptor is. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share the show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.